You're listening to the Mezzo Guild podcast.
بس أنا لازم أحسه الأول عشان أقوله.
아직 나의 어색한 한국말이 짤따рат하고 지적하진 말아주세요.
Я хочу с тобой серьезно поговорить.
Really good news, Farragut. No, I can quit this Moldina as a here show.
Language learning, made simple. Arabic was the first foreign language that I learned to fluency. I started almost 13 years ago when I was just starting college, and it took me about a full 3 years to reach a point where I felt comfortable communicating in it and understanding people when they spoke to me, which I always say is the most difficult part about learning another language. Over the last decade, I've traveled to the Middle East for language immersion many times, and I've had some pretty amazing experiences along the way, including almost getting married to a girl who only spoke Arabic. But you know, after all these years of learning other languages, as well as doing master's research on language acquisition, I look back in retrospect on my experience with Arabic, and I can now see a lot of things that I would have done differently, which I'm sure would have helped me learn a lot faster at the time and more effectively than I did back then. Like I said, it took me about 3 years to reach a point where I was speaking Arabic fluently and being able to understand people when they spoke back to me. Now that's quite a long time, even though I was very determined. So if I had the experience and the knowledge 13 years ago that I have right now, I'm sure that I would have had much better results. So here's what I would do if I had the chance to start over again, to start all over again from scratch. This might help you if you're just starting out now. Number 1, choose a dialect from the very beginning and stick with it. Now, if you're listening to this and you've decided to learn Arabic but you don't know anything about it, then it's important that you know that there are lots of different Arabics. There are lots of different varieties. People from the west coast of Africa right across to Asia speak Arabic, and everywhere you go it sounds totally different, has different sounds, different grammar, and in some cases it sounds entirely different, like an entirely different language, and yet it's still called Arabic. So before anyone learns Arabic, they need to decide what part of the Arab world they're interested in and make a decision to stick with that particular variety of Arabic, at least for the time being. You're not going to get far if you divide your attention. And I say the same thing about learning any two languages at the same time. You don't want to split your attention. In the early days, I started out with Levantine Arabic, with Palestinian Arabic, and then I moved on to Iraqi Arabic. At the same time, I was studying Modern Standard Arabic for reading, which is the formal dialect of the media. And eventually, finally, I switched over to Egyptian. And I ended up spending the next 10 or so years of my life focused mainly on Egypt and getting my Egyptian Arabic to a very high level. But if I had have just chosen Egyptian from the beginning, I'm sure I could have made much more effective use of my time. Now, that's not to say that Levantine, Iraqi, and Modern Standard Arabic didn't benefit my Egyptian. It definitely did. But it would have been better to focus on one dialect from the very beginning. Number 2, in saying that, I would not attempt to learn Modern Standard Arabic first, or even at the same time as learning a spoken dialect the way that I did. Now, I say choose a variety of Arabic and stick with it, but if your goal is to learn to speak Arabic with people, then forget about Modern Standard Arabic and focus on something that people actually speak. Modern Standard Arabic is not used, it is not spoken by anybody on earth as a native language. It's not a native language of anyone. It's an archaic, grammatically complicated language to learn in comparison, and you will understand virtually nobody when you travel to the Arabic world, apart from the people on the TV who speak Modern Standard Arabic. I made the mistake of devoting a lot of time to it in the early stages and getting continually frustrated when it conflicted with everything that I was learning about Egyptian, because they're like two different languages. Now, as I just said, it's not that it didn't help me in the end, especially having worked in translation in recent years, but at the time, it would have been better not to do it. Number 3, learn the alphabet immediately and don't just resort to Arabese or Franco-Arabic. Arabic script is actually what's called an abjad, which means that it's an alphabet that's primarily made up of consonants without vowels. The problem is that when you see one of these words written down and you've never encountered it before, it's very hard or sometimes impossible to know exactly how it's pronounced unless you can hear it. You can take a guess, but you just can't know for sure in every instance. But you do actually, you do improve at this as you get higher up, as you become more and more advanced. You start to notice patterns. And so you can usually take fairly accurate guesses, but you can never know completely. So I think this is one of the main reasons why people avoid the alphabet and they use materials with transliterations. This is a mistake. The thing is, yes, it will be confusing and difficult to read at first, but as long as you have quality material with audio, that comes with audio, or a native speaker to listen to, which is all very accessible these days, by the way, online, you'll get used to it. There have been studies which have proven that when we read text, we don't actually read every letter of every word anyway, even in our own languages. We see the outer letters, and the ones on the inside can be scrambled up. And chances are we won't even notice mistakes while we're reading. What this means is that when you get used to Arabic words, just like in English, you're not actually spelling the word out anyway. You're just recognizing the image of the word, the shape of the word. So for example, if I take a word like kitab in Arabic, I know instantly by looking at the word without spelling out its individual letters what it is and what it means, because I've associated the image of that word with sound and meaning. The problem is that if you always resort to Arabese and Franco or Franco-Arabic as they're called, you'll never improve at this. It's actually, it's a lazy way out and it will affect you majorly later on. Also, pretty much all good quality resources for Arabic use the Arabic alphabet. So you're going to be missing out on quality material if you avoid it. Now, I made the mistake early on just trying to write Arabic using English letters all the time, which ended up causing delays for me later on down the track. I had to catch up with my reading. Now, the Arabic alphabet is actually really, really easy. It's a piece of cake. So why not just take some time to learn it? Number 4. One of my most important points, I would recognize and practice the importance of acculturation and assimilation from day one. This is one of the most important things that I'll tell you. Have you ever heard the expression, to the Jews I became a Jew, to the Greeks I became a Greek? Every time I step off a plane somewhere new in the world, this ancient bit of wisdom that I live by comes back to me. And admittedly, it is way out of context. But it applies here. Assimilators learn languages better than anyone else. Assimilators appreciate and understand other cultures better than anyone else. Assimilators earn the respect and trust of local people better than anyone else. This is one thing I was always mindful of when I started Arabic, and I would do it all over again. To the Arabs, I became an Arab. Now, there's a big difference between learning Arabic and becoming Arab. Of course, you'll never become an Arab in the literal sense, but it's a mindset that will drive you to succeed with the language. I've applied this same principle in every country I've lived in around the world while learning the local languages, and I always earn respect from local people for it. The one thing that really separates what I do on my blog from other language learning blogs out there is that I take a very holistic approach to language learning, which encompasses assimilation into the target language culture. For me, language immersion and cultural immersion cannot be separated. As far as I'm concerned, language fluency only comes about when you're fluent in the culture as well, so to speak. I often encounter people too who say things like, I want to learn Arabic, but I don't really like Arab culture. My response is always, why don't you just forget it? You've already failed. If you don't respect and appreciate the culture and its people, then don't waste your time. And if you want to truly excel in any language, strive to assimilate. Number 5, I would devote time in the beginning to surrounding myself with and listening to the target dialect. Be a fly on the wall in every Arabic-speaking community you can find. Assuming that you're living in a Western country in or close by a major city, you've probably got Arab community groups and events going on somewhere nearby. I attended every event that I could when I started learning Arabic. I was going to Arabic-speaking churches, I was going to Islamic events, I was going to cultural festivals, refugee centers, anywhere where I knew there were Arabs congregating, I was there. Even if I suspected that there was going to be Arabic speakers there, I would make it my business to attend. If I started again, I'd be even more active in finding every single opportunity to be around people. And if this wasn't possible, I would at least have Arabic media playing in the house every day just so that my ears adjust to it, and Skyping with Arabic speakers daily. Number 6, I would find teachers who don't just drill grammar, but teach with the communicative style in the dialect that I'm learning. I hate to say this, but most Arabic teachers, most native Arabic teachers have one of two common problems. Either number 1, they teach using outdated and ineffective teaching methods, or number 2, they teach modern standard Arabic, as if it's real Arabic and they don't understand the value of spoken dialects. Traditional teaching methods, which are all about drilling grammar rules and tedious memorization, are prevalent all over the world, unfortunately. I've had a lot of bad teachers over the years, not just Arabic teachers, and the ironic thing is that the bad ones have tended to be the most expensive. If you feel overwhelmed, bored, or confused in a lesson, don't always be quick to blame yourself. Chances are the teacher stinks. As a general rule, you should come away from every lesson with you yourself having spoken 80% of the lesson. If you feel like you just sat there and listened to explanations without talking much, then your teacher is rubbish, and it's time to look for another one. Harsh words, I know, but if your teacher is doing all the talking, then they aren't really a teacher, and they should find another career. Also make sure that they understand and appreciate the value of spoken Arabic dialects over modern standard Arabic. Modern standard Arabic and classical Arabic are held in very high regard in the Arab world, sacred in fact. So it can be quite challenging to find teachers who understand why you specifically want to speak a local dialect. In fact, even with my own website for spoken Arabic dialects, talkinarabic.com, I've often had trouble explaining the concept to my Arab friends who struggle to see the logic behind learning spoken dialects of Arabic instead of modern standard Arabic. Number 7, I would start speaking Arabic as soon as possible, even if it's grammatically terrible. And this is something I didn't have much control over when I first started. I began Arabic at a time where amazing tools like italki didn't exist. I couldn't just jump on a website and find people to Skype with for a couple of bucks an hour. That would have been a dream come true for me back then, honestly. But even with the chances that I did have to speak to people all those years ago, I was often very nervous and shy about making mistakes in front of people. If I wasn't too sure about getting the grammar right and didn't know enough vocabulary, I'd just avoid using Arabic and speak English instead. These days, when I learn a new language, I speak as much as possible as early as I can, even if my grammar is horrendously bad. Mistakes have a way of working themselves out over time, but you need to take every chance you can to practice the little that you do know. If I started Arabic again and I only knew a couple of words and phrases, I'd be out there using them constantly until they were perfect. Number 8, I would only spend time using quality books and resources. Now, when I started learning Arabic all those years ago, there was hardly anything available for learning spoken Arabic. My very first book for Arabic, in fact, was a book that was put together by a local mosque, and it was absolutely atrocious, a waste of paper and ink. And I've still got it today. I look at it sometimes and I think, wow, did I actually use this piece of crap? Thankfully, things have improved somewhat for dialects. Not a lot though, unfortunately. You can take a look on my website. You'll find loads of reviews that I've written for all sorts of Arabic books and resources. There have been a lot of books have been made over the last few years that have really filled a gap, but there's still a lot more that can be done. Number 9, I would cast fear and prejudice of Arabs in the Middle East aside. Let's face it, swathes of the Middle East and North Africa are crazy right now. There's some pretty horrendous stuff going on in various places, and it's always unpredictable what's going to happen next, even when there's peace. But you know, one thing I've learned during all my travels through the Middle East and everywhere else in the world is that most people, regardless of the political or religious affiliations that they have, just care about the same stuff that you and I care about. That is, things like getting married, having kids, going to work to put food on the table, buying a house, the latest gadgets, a new pair of shoes, etc. I said the same thing about Russian people before after doing language immersion there, that most of them aren't even aware of Putin's politics and couldn't care less. They're just too busy working, paying the bills, and putting a roof over their kids' heads. You know, when people paint the entire Arab world as violent and psychopathic, it It's really naive and stupid. My first trip to the Middle East was not too long after September 11th, and I was honestly shitting myself that something was going to happen to me the first time I went there. And my mother bawled her eyes out at the airport because she thought it was the last time she was ever going to see me, and so did I. And something did happen. I loved it. And I went back for seconds, thirds, fourths, etc. I loved it there. I had a great time and I felt very safe. My life was changed forever and I fell in love with the people there. Are you learning Arabic yourself or planning to? Then I just want to end this by saying, make sure to check out our website called talkinarabic.com. Talkinarabic.com. We focus on spoken dialects of Arabic. We're not about modern standard Arabic or classical Arabic. We source our material. We have contacts all over the Middle East and North Africa, and we provide lessons in various formats. So I'd encourage you to check that out. It's talkinarabic.com.